Hello and welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Kevin Aki here, and we are back on stream 2. Now, we're waiting for a game just like everyone else is. We just actually stood over a monitor and watched the epic conclusion of Hero. Yeah, Hero versus Violet. Violet is tearing it up. He went 2-1 in that set, too. He's been playing so well.
Yeah, he really has. And, Hero has gotten really far in this tournament, too. He's really been impressing me with, just how well he's developed his matchups. He's looked good at some points and then weak at some points, but it looks like he's kind of on the high again and doing pretty well in this tournament.
That's right. So we actually have our fourth of our forecaster search casters sitting alongside me right now. So why don't you go ahead, introduce yourself, and tell us a little bit about your background in StarCraft 2 casting.
All right. My name is Chris Tajii. My handle is BuDDhA. And, I've done a lot of really smaller tournaments. Mostly I do ISTL, a lot of clan wars and stuff like that. And I applied and was fortunate enough to be able to cast on the off stream of Lone Star Clash 2, and now I'm here, and I'm super excited. This is my biggest event, and I can't wait.
Awesome. That's going to be cool. Well, we know we're going to have Axiom Crank. Now, he's going to face off against the winner of I'm Seed versus Pung Pung. We're not sure where that match is. We're actually trying to track it down. We just didn't want to leave you guys hanging for, well, about a year and a half before letting you guys know what was going on, so we'll have that here in just a minute. So, okay, so you've told us a little bit about your background in casting. What about just your background in esports, maybe with StarCraft 2 specifically?
Oh, well, okay. I played a little bit competitively in, low to mid-masters, doing clan wars and stuff, so not a lot of stuff, but I played for CVO, the Starcast podcast, and then I moved on and managed Team Air, and now I'm a manager on Team Impulse with the casting team there. And
cool.
That's about it. Yeah, I've been doing a lot in esports, but very, very small scale.
Gotcha. Okay, very cool stuff. So you've been involved in the scene for a while now.
Yeah.
We've been asking people ridiculous questions up to this point. So so we asked first what was their favorite animal, then we asked what was your favorite food. So I'm going to ask you now, what is your favorite term for off-white? Is it beige? Is it taupe? Is it?
Don't use examples because then I can't. I was actually gonna say beige, but I don't know why. I actually used it to describe one of the other casters' shirts the other day. While we were going to lunch. So.
A very descriptive term, if nothing else. So
I guess
that was just my totally random question. So don't worry, they all get easier after that.
That's good.
Yeah, absolutely. So if people want to find you, if they want to check out your stuff, where can they find you, social media wise, things like that?
The best way to find me is on Twitter at BuDDhA SC2. And you can also find me on Twitch at twitch.tv/BuDDhism101. But that's about it. I don't put a lot of stuff on my YouTube channel. Gotcha.
All right. So, well, we apparently have Startail Life and Snoot messaging each other in our chat channel, so I don't know if our game has changed on us. It would be fitting to do yet another ZVZ today. So I've only casted 2, and 2 is not enough. So need to have 3 out of 4, evidently.
Well, this tournament is pretty full of Zergs, and Zerg, of course, has been doing pretty well recently, although we do have a pretty good mix-up coming into the rest of this tournament here for race distribution. It's better than I kind of expected it to be. Yeah,
let's go ahead and take a look at those brackets, actually. So just to give you guys an idea, the semifinals for the winner's bracket have been set. We have Pultz advancing past Creator 2-0. Leenock did advance past SDC 2-0. Symbol defeated Sleep 2-0. And Violet did just take out Hero 2-1. So 3 Zerg and Terran left over in the winner's bracket. Yep. So, well, it looks like I think we are going to cast Life versus Snoot. Apparently, it just completely switched up on us. If you're okay with that, so
let's do it.
All right. So let's go ahead and do that. And it looks like that game is actually just about ready to go. So let me go ahead and change over our scoreboard to make sure it reflects that.
Absolutely.
Okay, so apparently now I'm the party leader, and not only did we switch games, but I've got to set up the room as well. So, let's see here. That is actually Losers Round 5. Yes, it is, and Losers Round 5. The map is Metropolis, so I'll go ahead and get that started here.
All right, well, it looks like Snoot just got knocked down from the winner's bracket here, and Life advancing through the loser's bracket over Liquid Sea, and Sea has been showing us some pretty good mech play as of late. I was actually really impressed. I hadn't looked up too much into him. He is one of the newer, well, actually the brand new player on Team Liquid here, but getting pretty far here. I was pleasantly surprised, to say the least. He knocked out Naniwa, Genius, some really good players. So.
All right, well, it looks like our players are basically ready to go. So we've had a bit of a switch in schedule, but I think that's going to end up working out well for us because we didn't know where the other match was in progress. So That's no big deal, and looks like our players are ready to go, so good luck, have fun to them, and here we are. So you've mentioned before that you played at a low mid-masters level, something like that. Have you been with the same race the entire time? Have you ever cheated on your race before, or anything like that?
I started off at Zerg, and I actually switched to random about a year, maybe a year and a half ago. So that's been going really well for me, and I love the diversity, you know, not getting stuck with only 3 matchups over and over again. So, yeah, I always try to tell my opponent my race before the game because otherwise I feel like a dirty person. But
you're so mannered compared to every random player I ever play. Anyway, go ahead and take it away.
All right, you guys, spawning here on the left-hand side of Metropolis, IPL's version of the map, we do have our blue Zerg player coming in for Startail. It's going to be Life. And on the right-hand side of the same map, Metropolis, we do have the red Zerg player. It is GL Snoot.
I feel like I should be doing the whoosh, although I can't do it quite as well, but anyway. Yeah, so Snoot versus Life, we have another ZVZ, and, you know, we're not casting the Crank versus the winner of Seed versus Boom Boom like we thought we were, but, you know what? Darn, we only get to cast the reigning GSL code as champion, so I guess we'll have to deal with that.
Pretty fantastic match, if you ask me, and looks like...
Oh, yep, there we go. You are absolutely right. Boom! Now we're good to go.
No problem. We were planning on a couple of Protoss players or Protoss versus Zerg, and in fact, we do have a Zerg versus Zerg coming up here, so should be a pretty fast-paced matchup. You know, the standard, of course, in this matchup is going to be pool into hatch, but sometimes we see early pools in cross positions like this. We're probably not going to see anything like that. Metropolis being a very, very large map.
Looks like Snoot probably saving up for his 14 pool that he likes so much. Now, Snoot's, of course, a player who loves going for his... he loves going for roaches all the time. When in doubt, roaches. That's just kind of his plan. He'll even throw in infestors a little bit later. He'll try to be pretty aggressive with small packs of roaches early. He'll completely bypass banelings, and he gets around that, of course, by getting early scouting information with the use of these Zerglings that'll pop out a little bit earlier on to make sure, you know, in the event that his opponent did decide to go hatch first, which Startail Life has done, and if he adds on that baneling nest, then he's not going to take too much pressure because he can pick up on exactly when it's supposed to happen.
And one thing that Life did that I'd want to point out, because it's very, very smart, is on this map, your Overlord gets to your opponent's close air positions very quickly, and you can actually go hatch first before pool if you notice that in time instead of going 15 pools. So a very, very cool little, like, let's look and see where my opponent is and go hatch first because he's cross.
And Life ended up going for, once he saw that it wasn't, you know, cross positions or anything like that, he did end up going for gas just before his pool too, so he's prioritizing his speed. He wants to make sure he has that 100 gas right away. And this is actually what we saw out of him in an earlier match too. Excuse me.
Sure. Yeah, and you know, we're going to have a pretty even match here. Snooze gas actually is going to be a little bit late. He hasn't even started it, and Life already has 50 gas on the map, so his speed is going to be done, of course, a lot quicker here as that 100 gas will come in as his pool completes. And yeah, we'll have to see how Snoot wants to play this out. You can kind of wall off that natural a little bit with Evo chambers and stuff like that.
Yeah, and Snoot loves his walled off. What he'll usually do in a game is he'll produce 3 queens, then we'll see an evolution chamber there, a roach warren there, and 2 queens just to block that up right in the middle. So he has thrown in variations of that, but if he's playing his normal standard game, that's what he's going to go with.
Absolutely, and that does leave the roach warren a little bit prone to being sniped and stuff, but it is a pretty cheap building. It does build relatively quickly. You just have to make sure that you start making roaches before it goes down if your opponent does in fact decide to target that.
Well, that hatchery is now finished up, and we'll see what Snoot does, although, like I said, wouldn't expect anything too out of the ordinary. He's building his 2nd and 3rd queen, just like we thought he would. Life, on the other hand, we mentioned that this was a possibility. Oh, yeah, looks like we have a little bit of a pause, so no worries there. He says he just needs to take a quick second, so we'll pop back to you guys. You can see our wonderful faces once again.
And all these computers are different, and it looks like actually Snoot is ready to go already. That was very fast.
Yeah.
Probably just changing the graphic settings and making sure it's all set to his liking. You know, what bothered me for a long time, actually, was that the creep was too shiny on the high settings.
Yes, I noticed that, and especially when you go to some of the maps where, don't get me wrong, map makers try to be very artistic, add their own flair into it, but sometimes you get the ones that just throw like weird random filters everywhere, and then you're like, well, I can't actually tell what color the player is, and it looks like there's just lens flare.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, yeah, it looks like we have a roach warren coming down for Snoot with his first 2 gases, actually. Very, very late gases out of Snoot here. And, of course, speed and a baneling nest are about to finish for Life. And that means that Snoot's not going to have any kind of baneling defense or anything like that. He does have 3 queens on the map with a 4th on the way. So that's going to be his entire defense for just a little while here, as Life is making a ton of Zerglings. Looks like he wants to get very aggressive.
That's right. So he is droning up behind this as well, so it's not like this is a big all-in Zergling Baneling push, but he does want to get some damage done. He wants to get it done pretty quick. His speed is finished. He has a lot of advantages over his opponent, and Snoot has not put his evolution chambers outside of this wall to be able to defend. In fact, he just retreats completely with his drones, and he's going to plan to hold with just queens.
Wow. And yeah, Life can kind of just sit out here with Banelings and force Snoot to, make some roaches and get them out to fight this off. And actually, these Zerglings actually taking out 2 queens, as the queens had no energy for transfusion here. His ramp is under a little bit of fire, but it looks like these roaches should be able to force this back, and it looks like all 4 queens get taken out, so Life's going to have a huge larva advantage as Zerglings come into the main.
That's right, and Snoot now needs to run away, or at least gather these drones up so he can present some sort of a unified wall against him. He's already lost 3, so Life's damage has been dealt. 4 workers have gone down in total. I think 1 was a scout earlier on in this game. So Snoot down in workers, a bit ahead in tech, but this is usually why you put up that defensive Baneling nest, is you want to be able to ward these off pretty cost effectively.
Yeah, and Life in the meantime is going for that lair, so we could see anything from very fast infestors to mutas at this point. He's only got 2 gases right now. He is adding a 3rd and 4th. So with no 3rd base, I do think this is going to be 2-base muta for just a second here. Roach Warren comes down. That's very interesting. Usually you can hold off a minuscule number of roaches with speedlings just alone.
Yeah, and we'll see what he ends up following this up with. Probably throwing down, if the Roach Warren hadn't been put down, yeah, you're probably looking at the Spire, but there's a decent possibility now we'll see that Infestation Pit hitting pretty quickly after this. They'll probably prioritize out those upgrades and maybe double Evo Chambers here in just a minute, too. There's 1 Evo Chamber, and no, never mind. That's actually just going to be a 3rd base.
Okay, well, he's got 300 gas banked up, so that Infestation Pit can start immediately here. He hasn't started it quite yet, though. He's using the minerals on his hatchery, and let's see what the tech choice is, because obviously he made that lair for something, and it looks like Roach Speed is the first thing he chooses, but still 300 gas in the bank.
Yeah, Gleober Constitution, and we're going to see +1 weapons here momentarily, so he'll have some upgrades that are on the way, but of course he will be eventually banking gas for that eventual Infestor switch. Now, Snoot, on the other hand, he decided to bypass all of those Banelings. He took a little bit of loss in workers, and he is still down by 8 at the moment, but it doesn't seem like he's all that concerned with it, because he still has a pretty good standing force. He's still got his layer tech underway, and because of the fact that he invested in his roaches a little bit earlier, not that far behind as far as tech goes.
We also need to keep in mind that he did have to pull all of his drones into his main for a while, so he lost a lot of mining time, because he was oversaturated in that main for quite a while, and there's the Infestation Pit for Life as the lair completes for Snoot. So Snoot with +1/+1 on the way might have a little bit of an opening when a +1 armor does complete if Life hasn't really masked up the roaches for defense yet.
And Life's going to try and take a look around here, and he gets a pretty good scout. I mean, that's as good as he could have expected right there. He didn't think he was going to get into the main, so he just checks things out. I don't think he picked off 1 more worker right there.
All right, well, the rocks are going down for Snoot. As everyone can see here, Life's 3rd has completed, as Snoot's is about to finish in just a second here. Infestor Pathogen Glands is on the way here for Life, and yeah, still no tech for lair tech out of Snoot yet, except for that roach speed.
Yeah, so he's going to be a little bit behind on his initial upgrade, as in about 45 seconds, Life is going to finish up +1 weapons, but if he can delay for another 45 seconds after that, he'll actually be at an upgrade advantage, because he is investing into his Carapace at the same time. Oh, but Life is just going to gun it for this upgrade. He gets it. That's actually going to set Snoot back quite a bit.
Wow, and the roach speed is going to allow him to get a better concave if he does decide to fight, and he can run at any point. And wow, getting both of those Evo Chambers is actually a big deal. Now he's going to have +1 and +2 on the way before Snoot's even started +1. Another engagement from Life as he thinks he has enough roaches to take this out. A good concave from Snoot is going to force him back, but no chasing capability quite yet.
That was a huge development, though. Taking out those 2 upgrades when they were a good portion of the way done, that provides a massive advantage for Life. And anytime we have what looks like it could be an equitable engagement is actually going to be vastly in the favor of Life. Add on top of that, he's got 5 Infestors popping up now. He's got +2 weapons. Everything is hitting for this guy right now.
All right, well, let's take a look at the worker count and see exactly how far ahead Life might be. It's 55 to 50 at the moment, and a couple links come in may have picked off another drone or two in the mineral line there. Snoot cleans it up very quickly, and his roach speed is done, so he's going to be more maneuverable, especially with those rocks down to help defend his third. In the meantime, +1 is on the way now for Snoot, and +2 is on the way for Life. So Life taking a pretty decisive lead. What's the roach count at, Kevin?
Roach count overall is 38 to 20, but that's because the reason that that's the case is that Life has voluntarily been setting back his units to invest into his infestors and upgrades at the moment. So not saying that it's the best situation he wants to be in, but I'm saying that that's not all that bad because these fungal growths are really tearing through these roaches.
Yeah, they really are, and keeping a lot of the roaches from firing so that Life actually has a roach advantage for a long period of time. All of these roaches for Snoot are in the red, and Life is going to push this back even with a much lower roach count, simply because all of these roaches for Snoot would die so quickly. Snoot, realizing that it's really low on health on all these roaches, does start burrow so that he can heal them up at home with burrow movement.
Yeah, that's really his only recourse right now. He is going to have a moment where he'll be on even upgrades with his opponents, but he's not able to reinforce this easily. This would get taken out by a very small pack of roaches themselves, and if that were to happen, it could very well be GG. So Snoot needs to sit back, he needs to hold for a little bit, he needs to make sure that he can get on equal tag with his opponent. Does he have an infestation pit?
I don't think so.
No. Okay, there it is. Just started.
Yeah, all right. Well, Snoot taking out these rocks here to get a better concave if, in fact, Life does decide to attack, and that is definitely a good idea because Life, of course, has the lower roach count, but the infestors, so you want to be able to get that surround so that you don't get bunched up and all your roaches caught at the same time, of course. And Life pushing in here with an Overseer now. Going to clean up some of this creep. Creep, of course, not going to be too big of an issue here, but we got pretty close to an engagement there.
Yes, we did. And Life wants to delay for just a couple more seconds. He's got a couple of fungal growths now, but if he can add on any more... No, actually, he's just going to gun it. He actually has a little bit of an anti-timing because of the fact that they're on even upgrades right now. Snoot can stand in there a little bit longer, but he didn't regen much of the health of any of these roaches. So Life, even with the inferior concave, is still killing a little bit more than I think he normally would have. His reinforcements are coming pretty well, though you can see that he's reinforcing double the amount of units that his opponent is producing. So a little bit of an anti-timing there. Life, if he waited another like 10 or 15 seconds, would have actually had a little bit better engagement for him. So Snoot does hold for the time being, but he's still down overall.
Yeah, and Snoot actually still with no infestors out on the map is only going to be pushing across the map with these roaches here. He is making more drones, so I don't think he's going to fully commit to this. He shouldn't, because there is a fungal growth, and 5 more roaches get caught for free there. He does pick off an infestor. Very nice snipe.
Yeah, I mean, making the best of a bad situation, I suppose.
So.
If your roaches are going to go down anyway, you might as well take something while they're swinging. So now Snoot, just working off of these 3 bases, he's got a lot of gas built up, and his pathogen glands are finally on the way. Once that gets 30 seconds of the way done, he can start those infestors up and start to really add on some meat to his army. And he needs it because Life's going to a 4th base. Life has some pretty great upgrades. He's already got +2 weapons going to +2 or +1 carapace, and adding on all the hatcheries he needs for really late game production.
Absolutely. Snoot's taking his 4th as well. But Life does currently have a 40 supply lead almost, and this is looking pretty scary because 7 infestors are on the way for Snoot, but he's going to need a great engagement before these infestors come out to kind of push Life back for that second for the infestors to get ready for himself.
Okay, well, here comes Life now. The concave is already set up for Snoot, but look how small that force is compared to what Life's bringing up to the front, and this is a great time to move in because the 7 infestors are just not there, and without those infestors, Life is going to be able to steamroll through the front line of forces. He's reinforcing pretty efficiently as well, and Snoot is just losing everything.
Yeah, the upgrade and fungal advantage here is really showing its true colors as wow, Life already in the natural, killing off a queen that's going to hamper the production of Snoot by so much. Fungal's coming down on the infestors that just get made, but they get sniped on the ramp, and Snoot, I think, down to only 3 infestors now. He's losing everything in his natural and gives out the GG. All
right, so that's game number 1 in the bag, and Life, the reigning GSL Codex champion, keeps on rolling, so congratulations to him there. So that's game number 1 in the bag. That we'll get game number 2 started here in just a second. It looks like they've already picked, so give me a second here. We'll get going quick. I do want to mention, though, that our caster contest is going on. This is the last of our 4 casters that were picked in the top 4, so if you guys have enjoyed his casting, you can vote, actually, for him by heading over to twitter.com/IGNProLeague, tweet at us, and hashtag IPL BuDDhA in order to cast your vote his way. So IPL BuDDhA is what you want to say.
Oh, man. Well, how's your weekend been, Kevin? Because I have had a fantastic time. I'm so happy for the opportunity here. I think the most fun thing I did, actually, was have an interview with HR.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Is
Greg
that...
and Rochelle are the funniest people on the planet. Oh, my goodness.
All right, so right now it's not letting me invite because of the party, but yes, our HR department is ridiculous, and I love it. So,
you guys must have so much fun. That sounds fantastic.
Yes, we had our as I have to leave the party here. Yeah, we had our Thanksgiving Bloody Mary train came through from HR. It was awesome when HR pulls through this just giant bucket of liquor is essentially what it is on a little red wagon. Looks very entertaining, but... All right, so now getting our players invited. We should be ready for game number 2. Life has looked really good this entire tournament. He came up against a very tough opponent in Leenock. Leenock is arguably the best CVCer in the world right now. So that's very difficult for Life to try and overcome, but he's battled his way through the lower bracket pretty effectively so far against some very tough opponents.
Yeah. No, and I mean, Life has looked good in almost all the recent tournaments for the most part. You know, obviously, I was a little bit surprised by the WCS results, actually. I thought we'd see a lot more Zergs fly through there. But, yeah, 3 Korean Protoss is really a different result than I had expected. But it looks like Game 2 has started here.
All right, so let's go ahead and jump into it. And here we are, we're loading into Cloud Kingdom. The anticipation screen is up. And, yeah, you're right. As far as the BWC standings go, Parting is a great player, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But I wouldn't have expected that he and Creator were going to be the ones that were fighting it out for the finals, especially with the names that were there.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. And Hero made top 8, of course.
Yes.
Almost made it 4 Korean Protosses in the top 4. But let's go ahead and do the intros here.
Take it away, sir.
All right. The top right-hand side of WCS Cloud Kingdom, we do have our blue Zerg player going for that mass road strategy in the last game. We do have GL's Snoot. And at the bottom left, spawning in is the red Zerg from Korea. It's going to be Startail Life, currently up 1-0, getting those infestors out a little bit faster than his opponent, managing the whole deck counter.
Yeah, no kidding. And I'm so excited for the future of this guy, too. He's so young. Yeah. He's already won GSL championships. He's already won an MLG championship. I mean, this guy, what else can you ask for him at this stage? Well, maybe you can ask for a 10 pool, I guess. So I'm going to stop talking about the future of this guy and how good he could possibly be and start talking about the fact that Snoot is going to be under some serious pressure in a second.
Yeah, and, you know, it's a pretty nice time to cheese, I guess. He's up a game. He's got a game to not throw away, per se, but definitely a game to go with here and try to get a lucky, kind of gimmicky win, if you will. But we'll have to see if he follows us up with anything crazy. A double extractor trick to get 2 more drones out here, and we're going to need to see an Overlord start in just a sec. I don't know if he's going to have enough larvae for 3 Zerglings. So.
No, I think it's only going to be 4, and then he'll follow it up with more after that, is what it seems like. Getting that extra drone out there, as you mentioned, is going to help his economy. So he's clearly, I mean, this is probably going to be make 8 links, put on pressure, try and deny a pool or something like that. Or deny a hatchery, I apologize. But Snoot always goes pool first. Except for the one game he didn't, and I don't want to talk about that earlier on. But anyway, he does, though. He always goes pool first. He always goes into roaches. That's just his strategy. It's what works for him. He will occasionally cheese every now and again, throw in a 10 pool here just to mess things up a bit. But he is going to have Zerglings prepared by the time that these make their way across the map.
Yeah, you know, we've seen a few early pools in this tournament thus far, but this one seems the most surprising, you know, knowing that it is a ZVZ on a 2-player map. Mm-hmm. You know, pool hatch is the standard opening on a 2-player map like this. So we'll have to see how well Snoot can hold this off. A Queen is in production for Life, and he's actually not making any more Zerglings at the moment. He's making 300 minerals, so he's going to expand off of this.
All right. Well, we'll see what Life ends up following this up with. Of course, like we said, he's going to do a little, or try to do a little bit of damage here, but now is kind of the issue. Oh, man, this is almost an exact repeat of the game we saw Snoot play before. I feel like I'm in deja vu mode now. So he's pulling some drones off the line. He's holding this exactly the same way we saw last time. Yes, there's going to be a little bit of lost mining time here, but Snoot is going to have plenty to deal with these Zerglings that pop out.
Yeah, and Life did 10 pool, so he is at a slightly economic disadvantage. So this drone pool is definitely helping him. Let's see how good the micro of Snoot is here on his drones. Did he lose one there? I think he might have lost one.
Take a look. Yeah, 1 worker killed, but still, you've got to do at least a few workers worth of damage for that to make it worth it.
Yeah, you do get your queen out very quickly with a 10 pool, though, so it's actually not all that uneconomical if you don't make too many Zerglings like Life did. So we'll have to see how this game plays out from here, as Life obviously is going to take this to a macro game.
Well, it's 15 workers to 18 in favor of Life now. He has a few less Zerglings out on the map, but of course his hatchery is quite a bit delayed, and already we can see that Snoot's going to be starting injects over here at the natural, with queens number 2 and 3 popping up in just a moment.
Yeah, wait, I'm sorry, do we have 2 queens or 3 queens coming?
Oh, my apologies, it is just 1 queen. Okay. Usually, Snoot's strategy is usually just to go for the 3-queen build, but you're right, he is only going for the 2 queens now.
Yeah, and I think that might have to do with the drone pull a little bit earlier here, not having enough resources to make that third queen. And if he does decide to go for this gasless strategy again, that third and fourth queen are very, very important. You know, you want to have those transfuses. You want to be able to have that extra DPS with the tankiness to really hold this off. And he's actually going for a spine crawler to add defense. Oh, maybe not.
All right. A spine crawler trick. No, I'm joking. So Life is the kind of player who will jump for mutas out of this, too. He'll decide that, okay, 10 pool didn't do too much damage, but found some sort of equity. Let's go ahead and go for a Spire. And that does tend to pretty hard counter a lot of what Snoot wants to do. Snoot,
wow.
That's, okay, so this is why he's going to make a million Zerglings. He's actually going to go for a Slowling. Maybe it'll be an all-in. We'll find out here. If he starts another round of Lings after this, then definitely.
Yeah, I think he might be extractor tricking here for additional Lings because he did get a little bit supply blocked here. No, he's making more drones now. Okay. Wow, interesting. And these two gases, one's going to be in the main, one's going to be in the natural, so Life is not going to know exactly how much gas income Snoot's going to have. And actually, the Overlord is going to see this. It didn't get killed off by the Queen, so a little bit unfortunate for Snoot. Let's see how Life responds here. A Baneling Nest and Spinecrawler do go down immediately. Only has 7 Lings on the field, 6 more in production. And that Spinecrawler is going to be the crux of his defense with his Queens at the ramp.
26 Lings to 7 now. He's got a couple Queens here already making a wall, but you're right. If he can get that Spinecrawler up, then he is more than fine. But if Snoot can do some damage before then, things are going to be much, much different.
Wow, great block by Life in the exact location where he needed to have his Zerglings. And losing a couple of drones here. This is a lot of Zerglings, and I'm not sure Life's going to have quite enough to break through this. It looks like his Spinecrawler is living, though, and really good micro by Life, not losing a lot of stuff.
No, he hasn't lost that many drones, and now he has enough Zerglings to be able to push this away. Wow. So the entire attack killed one worker through all of that, and Life holds magnificently.
That is amazing. Can you check the units lost tab for me?
Of
take a look
course.
At the resources. Oh, it's actually not that bad for Snoot here, but of course he did make those Zerglings as opposed to drones earlier, so Life had a little bit of extra income coming in. And the supply is 53 to 53. No. I don't actually know what the tech is, sorry.
Oh, it's, well, in the end, Snoot is, despite the fact that he delayed his third queen, is there one on the way? Yeah, okay, so he's eventually is going to put up his third queen, because usually he has creep spread a little bit out, so it gives him a bit more flexibility to take an earlier third base. He is still going to have his Roachhorn, he has his Evolution Chamber, no Baneling Nest for him, and this actually ended up working out okay for him, because his opponent, even though he put up the Baneling Nest, the Slowling attack came in at such a time that it really wasn't worth it afterwards to make a big Baneling push.
Yeah, all right, well, Snoot does have a nice wall off. The Zerglings are poking in at the front here, and it looks like, Snoot might be going for those fast upgrades again. He's only got 1 Evo chamber this time, as opposed to last game where he went for those double Evo chambers, and that unfortunately did not pay off for him. And Life is taking a third and going for that Roachhorn a little bit later, so playing a much more economic game after that kind of failed attack from Snoot.
Okay, well, Queens are sitting here up at the front, and Snoot already is starting to buffer up that Roach count. He's not taking a third base. It's a real advantage now, as Life knows that he can't really crack that nut, so he's going to try and find an advantage wherever he can. If he can't do damage, well, he's going to get economically ahead and put up a hatchery of his own, because he does have, admittedly, pretty good map control at the moment with these Lings.
Yeah, Snoot, of course, without that Zergling speed again, I think, like you said, loves to open roaches, and that's exactly what we're seeing out of him. Third base up for Snoot now, or sorry, starting for Snoot now, and Life does see it, so he knows that there's a third base on the way, and knows that he can probably make a few more drones, and might go for a little bit of two-pronged aggression to kind of distract Snoot for a sec here when that Queen goes for an inject.
Yeah, could very well. We'll see what ends up following with this up here in a second, though. Snoot is going to have a nice time because his Evolution Chamber hasn't been threatened, where he has that +1, where he has a good number of roaches out there, already 20, with 5 more on the way, now 8 more on the way. And he could start to do some damage. And he will, actually, this could end up being a decent timing for him, because now we see the investment into an infestation pit for Life, too. So he's going to be banking resources a bit. He wants to make sure that he has enough roaches out to stay defensive, but he's obviously not planning to do damage with them right now. So there is a potential for Snoot to move out and get a little pressure in.
Yeah, luckily for Life, his +1 is going to finish on his roaches if Snoot does decide to commit to this attack. And he does start +2. That infestation pit, of course, not going to be done in time for this particular attack if Snoot does follow through. And he's actually got some roaches over by his third, I think, so I don't think he's fully committing to this to make sure that his third doesn't get picked off. So, yeah, I think he's just trying to force some roaches out.
And it was a little bit slow if he wanted to put on a ton of pressure anyway, and this may have been just to, once again, establish map dominance and then take map control there, as he did actually move out a little bit slower after his +1 for his opponent had finished up, so Life was on equal upgrades, and it would have been a lot more difficult to attack into this, especially with Defender's Advantage. With Pathogen Glance on the way, though, Life is going to have these Infestors, or the potential for Infestors out a little bit earlier, but he's not been able to bank that much gas. He's only going to have enough for 1 Infestor right now.
Yeah, and that's actually a little bit surprising. Normally we see that 5th and 6th gas get taken very quickly, but I guess Life is playing a little bit defensively, making sure he has that roach count available to be made at any point in time. And yeah, I kind of like that because Snoot, obviously, his infestation bit is just as far behind.
All right, well, he's got his own pathogen glands on the way, and in 13 seconds he can start what's likely to be 4 infestors here if he can get up to that 600 gas count. So he's actually going to be in a pretty good spot.
And 11 drones get started for Snoot, so he sees the roach count of Life and feels very, very confident in his ability to hold any kind of attack. And of course, he is 10 roaches ahead at this point, so that is actually going to give him a almost 15 drone lead, and that is actually a big deal considering we're going to get into the more tech-heavy stages of this game where we see infestors and hydras and stuff like that come out.
Yeah, 73 drones to 61 now. It's going to be 65 here, 66 in a second. So Life certainly going to be getting closer to that economy. And if we get to a situation where both players are maxed out, they have relatively even upgrades, it will give Life a small advantage in overall army count, but he'll have a little bit worse ability to reproduce his army afterwards.
Indeed. All right, so the infestor count looks like he's going to be around 3 to 6 in Snoot's favor, and he does have a roach advantage as well, and a slight upgrade lead by about 30 seconds here. So
yeah.
Snoot actually looking really good right now, starting his 4th base actually before Life did. No, Life starting a macro hatch, actually.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, that's actually up inside of the main. Snoot does not have a macro hatch of his own yet, although I would assume that we'd see something like that pretty soon, especially with the Hydralisk coming up. Those are pretty cheap units, so he'll want to be able to pop out as many as he can eventually.
All right, well, +2 has finished for Snoot here. It looks like he doesn't want to hit any kind of timing as he is sitting back at his 4th base with a lot of his roaches, using changelings just to kind of scout around, check out Life, make sure he's not going for a really fast hive or any kind of hive tech that he's not going to be ready for. He does see that it's a lair, and he sees the macro hatch, so he should feel pretty confident at this point. Snoot getting caught out on the map a little bit, going to lose a few roaches, but at this point in the game, he is looking to kind of remake hydras and stuff instead of those roaches, so kind of trading some units out here.
Yeah, that's exactly what he's doing. So now he's going to have groove spines, he's going to have 10 hydras, so the DPS of his army is going to be quite good. He is actually slipping just a bit behind in upgrades. He's not started his +1 carapace, so that's not going to be a factor for another about 2 or 3 minutes in game, but it could become something later on. And Life is actually going to go for this. He actually gets caught here in between 2 armies, so the positioning for Snoot is not bad. Oh, but look at the fungal actually locking down the units on the bottom, and the fungals did actually hit first for Life, but now these infestors are being fungled over and over again, and Snoot is going to successfully take all of those out.
So much gas going down for Life there, and Snoot taking a real big advantage in this game, and you know that +1 armor is going to be such a big deal for Life, not so much for Snoot because of the Hydralisk. The Hydralisk do DPS, not the spike damage that the roaches do, so a Queen going down is really going to cut into the production of Snoot, especially for the cost of like 5 lings, but at the 4th base of Life, it looks like we do have a number of roaches coming down, and good fungals from Life might be able to hold this off here.
Yeah, but the fungals are coming back in for Snoot now, who is dropping down a lot of infested Terrans, even though the ones are popping up for his opponent first Life. Snoot does have a few additional ones, and he's able to clean that out eventually. He's not been the most cost-effective with all of his units, though, and Snoot now does have to retreat. If you would get any of these units caught out, that would be a disaster.
Yeah, he is going to lose a couple of infestors here. He's going to use infested Terrans to try to wall off and keep those roaches going around, but every infestor he loses here is such a big deal. Those hydras staying back to try to force Life to engage them instead. Does work a little bit. He did lose about 3 infestors running away there, though, and that's a really big deal. The supply is now 156 to 168 in Snoot's favor as he takes center control again, and look at it. He's got 8 gases going here. Does he have a hive?
He does not have hive to the best of my knowledge. No, okay, still layer tech. So with 10 more hydras coming out, again, the DPS of his army is going to be pretty great, but he kind of runs the risk of having his roach buffer melt a little bit too quickly, and then the hydras get exposed, and that could be an issue for him afterwards. But, you know, Life had some pressure put on this base. You can see that the gas are just now queued up, so it's going to be a long time before he's able to get that in effect.
And it looks like we have a little bit of a Zerglin counterattack, taking out another Queen of Snoot, and these are actually being really effective. I mean, every time you can lower your opponent's larva count, especially when you don't have a macro hatch in your main, this could be such a big deal coming into the late game when you want to remax as quickly as possible, and Snoot's just having to remake those Queens, re-hockey them, just extra APM that, you know, you're throwing lings away for is really not a big deal on Life side.
But Snoot now does have a bunch of gas banked up, and he's actually getting to the point where he's banking larvae, he's banking gas, he's banking minerals. He should start to think about pushing in engagements. Now, he is very far behind in upgrades now. We mentioned that there was the potential time when that upgrade carapace disadvantage would come into play, and that time is now.
Yeah.
He's down by 1 upgrade. He's trying to catch up on that, and he is actually going over to Hive Tech now.
Okay. Well, the Hydralisks for Snoot are going to be pretty much way less effective here, as Life does have that +1 armor like you were talking about. He has started +2, and looks like we have a huge engagement on the ramp as Snoot gets a huge flank from the left-hand side as well, and these Hydras could end up being the difference maker in this battle, Kevin.
Yeah, the Hydras haven't been touched so far, and they've just been dishing out a ton of damage the entire time. So there's the burrow above. Is there an Overseer? There is, and Life loses most of his forces as he runs away. That is a huge win there for Snoot. He's got to watch out because he's not attacking with all of his forces, and he doesn't want to get him caught out piecemeal right now, but if he attacks with everything, then he is going to be more than fine.
Wow, Snoot taking a 40 supply lead here, pushing up into the third base of Life. Could kill off a lot of the mining here, as there's only 4 bases to 4 bases. And yeah, drones being pulled for Life at this point, and I think that Snoot might actually take game number 2 here.
It looks like it. He is going to be the one Zerg player that can actually tie things up against him. He has to retreat with these very valuable Hydras to make sure that he gets them to the back, but the roach reinforcements are going to be quite a bit. Life drops down 1 infested Terran up in the front too, as if just to say, aha, I can do that too. But it's not alone going to be enough.
All right, well, Snoot needs to win this battle, because if he doesn't, well, it looks like he is going to. If he doesn't, that 4th base would have lived, and there's the GG from Life. So Snoot tying it up 1-1. Wow, what a fantastic game.
Yeah, very well done, especially when things kind of seemed lost for him at one point, you know? Life was able to gain himself a pretty decent advantage at one point. Snoot was playing from an advantage report of that. And don't forget, that actually started from a 10 pool, too. So,
yeah, sure.
Kind of a little more protracted Zergling Infestor war, but, Roach Infestor war, but ended up working out for Snoot in the end.
Yeah, really exciting game, actually, with that kind of Zergling pressure. I don't want to call it an all-in necessarily, but yeah, really, really awesome game. And you know, if Life had held that off, Snoot had not picked off the 4th base, and that game could have evened up at the end if that battle had gone a little differently.
All right, well, we're just checking on the map here, and it looks like it's going to be daybreak, so we're very quickly getting into our next game. That is kind of the fun part of live games, though, whenever the players don't have any issues, is that you can just roll from game to game.
They know exactly what map they want to play against their opponent on next.
And I'm sure Snoot's actually feeling pretty good about himself right now, because, as you can see, he is now tied up against the reigning GSL Code S champion. Both these players are in an elimination game, though. The loser of this next game is out of the tournament.
Life is no joke, and Life won last season when there were a lot of Zergs in the GSL too. So, you know, obviously Life's ZVZ going to be exceptionally good, and Snoot really showing a really, really good, solid game there. Okay,
guys. Well, here's game number 3, and don't forget, everyone, that if you want to vote for BuDDhA here for the caster competition, you need to head over to twitter.com/IGNProLeague, hashtag IPL BuDDhA, and he is one of our final 4 applicants in this caster search contest, and one of these guys is going to get a full-time job here with the IGN Pro League. So if you want it to be him, then go ahead and vote.
Fantastic opportunity.
All right, well, here we go, guys. We're in game number 3. Take it away.
All right, spawning down here at the bottom left-hand side of Daybreak, we do have our blue Zerg player. It's going to be GL's Snoot. And at the top right, spawning in as the red Zerg, losing that last game. Going to have to win this one to advance here through the brackets. It's going to be our red Zerg player, StarTales Life.
That's right. So Life versus Snoot, game number 3. Snoot with a very impressive performance last game, and we'll see if he can, or if he has what it takes to be a champion, or rather, to take down this champion.
Indeed, and you know, after last game, I gotta say this game looks like it could be pretty close. And Life opening with 10 drones again. I thought he might 10 pool again. He is gonna extract a drone.
I know I've told this story way too many times on stream. I don't care. I'm saying it again. There's always that moment though, whenever you look up and they've got like 110 minerals and they haven't made their overlord yet, and you're like, oh my god, he's gonna make an early pull. No, it's actually he just messed up.
I was busy typing to my opponent, and that's why my macro screwed up.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so let's see here now. As Snoot, I would not expect him to deviate too much from his pool first into hatch, into roach war and play, skipping the baling nest once again. Life, though, this is kind of the curveball for me. He's picked Daybreak. Pretty much every time he's picked Daybreak in ZVZ, he goes Mutas. This certainly could be a big move for him, though.
Yeah, Muta could be a really interesting choice. It looks like he's going to hatch first here, knowing that, you know, the last 2 games Snoot went for this pool at a relatively normal timing, 15, and it looks like, yeah, Life is going to take that hatch first, and it's going to have a slight economical lead, but it is going to be very evened out as the game goes on because of that early queen for Snoot.
Okay, so like I said, I've got at least a pretty good idea of what Snoot's going to do, but I'll really be paying attention to Life here in the next couple of minutes.
Yeah, it worked for Snoot last game, so...
Yeah. And we saw that Roach Infestor play after, after Banelings, which didn't really have any use in the game. I don't even think he morphed into a single Baneling, so he kind of was more on autopilot, like, oh, okay, this is the time, hatch first, I'm going to put down the Baneling Nest, even though we've already had the Slowling attack, and there's no real reason to put too much of it up, because I know you're not making anything else.
Yeah, I was a little surprised he didn't cancel it, but he was probably paying way too much attention to the units at the front, making sure nothing died, because he lost almost nothing, only one worker in that entire engagement.
So now, with this, with gas coming up, of course he's going to have early speed, but the real tell is going to be, does he leave 3 workers on gas whenever he's collected that 100 for the Zergling speed?
Yeah, and oftentimes we do see a very fast layer, like you're talking about. After that speed starts, just leaving all 3 of the guys on gas, so you can go for that 2-base layer very quickly. And Snoot, again, opening with that gasless opening. Very, very peculiar. We don't see this very often, except out of him.
Right. So, yeah, I mean, usually, like I said, last game was an exception. He had to combat against a 10 pool. He ended up doing a Slowling attack afterwards, but more than likely we're going to see an eventual 3 queens out of him in total.
All right. Well, looks like the Overlord is checking out the natural for Snoot here. And I did see the gas in the main with that Overlord, so it has basically all the information he does need here. Zerglings are going to come forwards and poke a little bit, but there's not a whole lot of scouting he can do besides check if more than 100 gas has been mined here, which he's not doing. He's going to try to pick off a drone, and it looks like he does get it just at the last second, but more importantly, we do have life mining gas still, so that Overlord may have come in and seen it. Not 100% sure.
Yeah, and this is what we were talking about before, though. It makes me think that he did get enough vision to see it, because otherwise, the drone is very cool, don't get me wrong. Anytime you can pick up a drone for 2 Zerglings, you take advantage of it. But the more important information, I think, here is making sure, yes, and we have Lair, we have a second Extractor, and I think we're going to see Mutas.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. And, I think Snoot actually did see the gas, because he actually went to a 3rd and 4th queen, I believe. He's got 2 at his natural, 1 his main, and a 4th one in production here. So, yeah, queens, of course, can be a very good early muted defense. Mobile, we'll see if he drops a creep tumor, actually, to kind of get back and forth between his main and natural.
Yeah, I assume he would here in just a bit, and then on top of that, we could see him bank a little bit of his energy as well. Maybe not concentrate on his creeps right too much to make sure that he has enough for some transfusions whenever this ends up happening.
All right, well, that Roach Warren is coming down for Snoot. Again, that is his early game defense here, as he does have, I believe, 2 gases up to this point. That is correct.
Yes.
And, yeah, life going to those four gases as this layer is about to finish, going to get that Spire started and start banking up that gas to make 5 to 8 mutas at the very beginning as soon as it pops.
Yeah, he's already banking quite a bit. I mean, he has the potential to go up to maybe 9 or 10 mutas even. Oh, no, okay, there we go. Let's see here. Spire's on the way. Yeah, he'll probably settle around the 8 muta mark. It depends on how hard he wants to commit into this, though. He could potentially produce more and invest in that +1 weapons. If he goes for the +1 air weapons, clearly this isn't meaning to be, I'm going to make 7 mutas, then I'm going to go and I'm going to harass, and then I'm going to come back to Roach and Fester. Yeah.
Yeah, I expect to see, good drone pick off by Life there, getting in before those Evo chambers do go down, but I do expect to see, probably 5 to 8 to start, and somewhere between 9 and 12 to be the finishing number here as he goes and picks off Overlords around the map. Make sure that any kind of Roach all-in does get deflected a little bit by the muted DPS.
All right, so, well, I mean, of course, we always know if you're going for that 7 to 8 mutas at first or something like that, you're not planning to go too much into it. The real damage that's done was always Zergling counterattacks or splitting goes up. And so if you can occupy your opponent's attention enough, force them into tech, then they leave a 3rd base exposed. In this case, though, Snoot is a little bit more hardcore on 2 base than he normally is, not going up to that 3rd quite yet. Wants to make sure that he can defend a big flock of mutas before anything else.
And he has taken a 3rd and 4th gas, at a pretty normal time here, but I do expect to see an infestation pit drop in a sec, and it looks like Zerglings do get back into the main for Life here. He does get another drone kill. Good job by Snoot not losing more than 1 drone at that point. However, 8 mutas are in production as these Zerglings do look like they are going to get cleaned up pretty easily, and Snoot doesn't have to commit all that much to Roaches here because he can expect that mutas are the tech of choice.
All right, well, he did have enough gas for more mutas if he wanted to, but he hasn't decided to go into those quite yet, so just going to sit back for a while, morphing an Overseer. He is a bit supply blocked, so he's making multiple Overlords right now to be able to clear that up. But how many Queens are out in total? Still just the 4 that we saw before. Not that many transfusions available, especially, it's always so annoying if a player actually checks and ends up going for the super high energy Queen to begin with.
All right, well, I do think that Life is making a good decision going for that third base here as he picks off Overlords because, of course, he ran in with the Zerglings and did see that there were only Roaches out for Snoot. There was no speed or Zerglings or anything like that, and, you know, that really leaves the counterattack potential for Snoot to a kind of a minimum here. So the third base is going to be under pressure here with the creep spread not being all that far down quite yet, as Snoot is actually supply blocked, as you were pointing out, and yeah, I think this third is definitely going to have to get canceled.
Really supply block too. He was at 88 over 60, so these Mutalisks have done more than enough damage. Now there is that counterattack we were discussing. It's making its way over to the third here. There's a few Zerglings that are ready for this to try and delay for a second, and that's all he wants to do because he knows if he doesn't get there in time, that is a goner.
Yeah, he's definitely going to be able to pick off this hatchery, and yeah, it does look like we have a Nidus network in production, and that is really interesting actually because the only vision he really has on the entire map as these Roaches do start to get picked off and move into the natural is the two Overlords on either side of the main, but there are Mutas out, so if those get denied, then this Nidus, you know, doesn't have a lot of potential to do damage, I don't think.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you. He's trying to save one. I think this is going to be the culprit there, the one that's as far away from the main as possible, the one that'll actually drop in the Nidus network. How many workers has Snoot killed on top of this? Not many, so he hasn't done that much more damage with these Roaches and just lost a lot of stuff.
Yeah, well, you have to remember that by investing in the Mutas, Life, of course, is... Oh, he's actually going to get the Overlord in the back of the base.
There it is. Oh. Okay, so the Nidus room is actually in. How many units does he actually have in the Nidus canal? Starting to drop him in now. 2 pages of Roaches.
And the Queens are going to be the big deal here. They've got to pick off those Mutas. They've got to have a lot of energy for transfusions here. Oh, my goodness. Are the Queens going to get out in time?
And they do, and they're actually transfusing this up. He's actually held on to it for a while. The Mutas are trying to pick this off, but they can't do it, and all the Roaches make it into the main. Beautiful transfusions from Snoot so far, an excellent display of micro, and now the Roaches are doing damage inside of the main.
Yeah, and I don't think Life can hold on to his main base here. He's making 9 Roaches. It's not going to be anywhere near enough to hold off this attack. He's only got drones to help reinforce this. His Spire has gone down. Easily Life can pick off, or Snoot can pick off Life's lair here, and drones are having to be run around all over the place. Another Nidus Worm coming up in the main does get forced to be killed off, but I don't know that Life can hold this at all, Kevin.
No, this is an incredible amount of damage being done, but the thing is that he hasn't taken out a lot of stuff of consequence yet. He's dealing with the army there. That's finally good. He picked off the Spire, but that wasn't being used that much anymore. He's got to get lair. He's got to get drones right now, but look at this, ladies and gentlemen. There's a worker deficit now for Life. He's losing all of his Queens. He doesn't have that much production. He just lost his lair. Things are looking amazing, and Snoot may have the potential to knock out the reigning Code S champion.
Is it possible that Snoot, a player that everyone would consider an underdog in this tournament or in this particular match, is going to be able to win Game 3 against the GSL champion with Nidus Worm play in Zerg versus Zerg? This is so unorthodox. Picks off the third, only 1 base left for Life, and this is looking so dire.
No kidding. He's down to just 57 supply. As we can take a look, 27 workers to 51. Is he doing any damage inside of his opponent's base? Okay, it looks like he's denying this third base at least over and over again, but this hasn't been touched, and there's still plenty of minerals to go around. Snoot can sit on this for a very long period of time.
Wow, Infestation Pit is about to go down here, and it looks like Life is kind of composing himself. He's going to have to throw out a GG pretty soon. It is 41 to 108 supply here. Snoot taking a dominating lead, killing over 40 workers in this game already, and that number is only going to rise.
Unbelievable, ladies and gentlemen. We have had one of our biggest upsets of the tournament. We knew Snoot has been playing well, but we did not know it was this well. 14 supply and falling, and that is it. GG! The reigning Code S champion is knocked out of IPL 5, and Gamers League Snoot moves on.
Wow, that is absolutely impressive. Snoot showing a really fantastic game there with his own style, of course. This is not a style very many people use, that gasless opening into Roach, right? There's so many things it can be kind of sort of vulnerable to, right? You know, early Zergling aggression, but he finds a way to make it work, and he did a great job against Life.
That was just awesome. Congratulations to Snoot. Oh my God, Liquipedia is so fast. I just refreshed to see the brackets and check the update, and it's already in there. Well done, all you guys over there. Snoot is now waiting on the winner of San versus Bomber, so if you want to see where he's going to be at in the bracket. A few other updates. It looks like Alive and Hyun still have yet to play. Dongregoo and Scarlet still have yet to play. Pung Pung is actually up. He defeated Seed 2-1, and he's actually up on Crank 1-0 at the moment, so congratulations to him. Shigua and Squirtle still haven't played. Yoda and Huck still haven't played. Sniper did knock out Tajii 2-1. It is actually going to be Yoda versus Huck next on this stream. That'll be cast by Liquid Chef and Frodan. So some incredible developments so far, but congratulations to Snoot. What a performance.
Yeah, no, those were actually some really good games. After game one, I was like, okay, well, this is kind of how I expected it to go, and Snoot coming back and absolutely eliminating Life in that last game.
Unbelievable stuff. Congratulations to Snoot. He certainly makes that work. So, guys, that is going to be all for the Caster Search Contest casters. Guys, if you've enjoyed BuDDhA's casting, then you can vote for him by heading over to twitter.com/IGN Pro League, tweet at IGN Pro League, and hashtag IPL BuDDhA. Also, just real quick for the people, inevitably, because our viewers went way up during that last game for obvious reasons, just once again, real quick, tell people who you are, what you've been doing in casting, and things like that.
Sure. I'm BuDDhA. I cast a lot of small little clan wars, and I cast ISTL for Impulse, and you can find me on Twitter at BuDDhASC2. Thanks a lot, guys.
Awesome. So that's going to be all for us. Froden and Sheth are going to take over next. They'll be casting Huck versus Yoda.
Here's an idea. Home stuff, Diablo 3, dubstep, Minecraft, Adventure Time, Dungeons & Dragons. Anyone who has ever made a lolcat has also made a work of art. Anais Nin said that it is the function of art to renew our perceptions. Yes, I know, it sounds a little weird, but the truly significant work of art is the one that prepares the future. It's a high-speed collaboration between people recombining everything into new forms. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Love it. We agree. I'd buy that for $1. Let us know in the comments. And if you haven't, you should subscribe.
Rated M for mature.
筋肉トレ分かった。これから筋トレしますので。
ぜひ筋肉鍛えてください。
はいはいはいはい。
今もでも素敵ですけど。筋肉